From beautiful vistas and haunting graveyards to bustling villages and colossal castles, the Witcher series has taken us on some of gaming's most memorable adventures. Of course, we don't get treasures like these without a team of dedicated developers, though. So, how do you expect to maintain that attitude when you're in the face of inexperience, financial trouble, and an explosive market? Well, for CD Projekt, their first franchise would take them on a journey to becoming one of the gaming industry's most beloved and trusted companies. Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at the origins of the Witcher series.
So, might be my birthday, but I say, here's to you.
Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and click on the links in the description to vote on upcoming content. CD Projekt began as a games publisher in 1994. Located in Warsaw, Poland, the company was founded by Marcin Iwinski and Mikhail Kaczynski, pardon my pronunciation. Besides distributing games, they would offer localization services, bringing games from around the world to Poland. One of their first major successes was the localization of Ace Ventura, a point-and-click adventure game based on the animated series, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. The game overperformed in Poland, proving that there was in fact a market for imported, localized games. With this achievement under their belt, CD Projekt had their eyes set on Baldur's Gate, offering BioWare and Interplay their services to localize the game for the Polish market. The success of Baldur's Gate blossomed CD Projekt's relationship with Interplay, and work between them continued beyond.
But in his doom he shall spawn a score of mortal progeny.
Unfortunately, when Interplay began to see financial problems in the late 1990s, and the planned localization of Baldur's Gate: Dark Alliance was scrapped, CD Projekt was faced with a difficult decision. Either resume business as usual and continue localizing and distributing games, or try their hand at game development, an idea that the company had been kicking around for a while. If they were to jump into game development, what would they make? CD Projekt turned to Polish fantasy writer Andrzej Sapkowski, the man behind the acclaimed Wiedźmin fantasy novels, or The Witcher if you're speaking English. While they managed to acquire the rights for only $9,500, they still had no idea what the game would be, let alone how to make it. On March 2nd, 2002, CD Projekt launched their new division, CD Projekt Red, a game development studio led by Sebastian Zielinski. Despite their inexperience in game design, the team managed to assemble a demo for their Witcher game, a top-down RPG not too much unlike Baldur's Gate, where players could customize and create their own character. Many publishers were shopped around for this project, but no one bought it. Zielinski eventually left the company, and under the new leadership of Martin Zawinski, the team scrapped the whole demo in 2003 and went right back to the drawing board. In the years that followed, CD Projekt Red would receive help from an old friend. BioWare shared a booth with the team at E3 2004 while they promoted Jade Empire. CD Projekt Red took this opportunity to gain permission to use BioWare's Aurora engine, the same one used for Jade Empire and Neverwinter Nights. Of course, learning this engine was no easy task. As their Witcher project progressed, the team was constantly faced with new challenges. This included creating complex logic to make NPCs more believable in behavior, and rebuilding Aurora's rendering functions. Even translation proved to be a difficulty, as CD Projekt Red had to translate from Polish to English, rather than the other way around.
What's happening?
They're trying to break down the gate!
They won't get anywhere without a battering ram.
What we now know as the first Witcher game didn't secure a publisher until February of 2007, merely months before the launch. Atari agreed to distribute the game and fund the remaining 20% of the game's budget, with the other 80% being entirely self-funded by CD Projekt. For the first time ever, Sapkowski's fantasy novel series would be exposed to an international audience. On October 26, 2007, The Witcher released on PC and OS X. While the game didn't receive rave reviews, it still garnered positive feedback, with most critics citing the deep story structure and fast-paced combat. The accomplishments of CD Projekt Red did not go unnoticed either, as they were commended for taking a familiar game engine and transforming it into something almost unrecognizable. The success of The Witcher led Atari to pitch a port of the game for the Xbox. At first, CD Projekt was on board with this idea, but after months of resource issues, that project was canned, and CD Projekt Red left Atari with the North American license to the game. Unbeknownst to CD Projekt, this fallout would be the start of an intense couple of years.
That sword is for monsters.
Development for The Witcher 2 could not have started at a worse time. With production beginning during the 2008 global economic crisis, CD Projekt Red was struggling to stay afloat. Not only were they developing their second game ever as a studio, but they were also in the process of creating their own engine for it. The studio had many opportunities to sign on with publishers, which would put the company in a more stable condition than it was currently in. However, CD Projekt Red declined any and all offers. This was to ensure that they had creative control over their passion project. On September 18, 2009, CD Projekt Red announced The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings. Featuring a branching narrative, 16 different endings, and the debut of the Red engine, players were craving to return to the world of The Witcher. After 3.5 years of development, The Witcher 2 released on May 17, 2011. Review scores were significantly better than the first game, with critics and fans praising improvements in combat, graphics, and customization.
Did you dream of the Wild Hunt again?
With their newfound strategies in game design and the success of their own game engine, CD Projekt Red was ready for one last go with The Witcher. This was their chance to end the series on a high note. The Witcher 3 began development in 2011, shortly after the release of Witcher 2. Over the course of the next 3.5 years, CD Projekt Red would increase their team size from 150 employees to 250, with a few positions being outsourced. The studio faced a monumental amount of time working on the game's audio, voice actors, and writing. Red Engine had to be modified for the game's multi-platform release, and a brand new generation of consoles too. The game was announced via the gorgeously illustrated cover of the March 2013 issue of Game Informer. CD Projekt made some lofty promises, claiming that the game would have over 100 hours of content, a load-screen-free open world that was bigger than Skyrim, and a release window of 2014.
Concluding the trilogy with a riveting story set in a completely open world, we'll once again break new ground.
Many changes were made during the game's development. For one, the game was initially conceived to have the player decide which of the 3 main locations, Velen, Novigrad, or Skellige, they could visit first. This idea had to be scrapped when they realized that this would force them to use level scaling, a design concept in RPGs where the strength of your enemies you encounter is determined by your own player level, a concept that was made widespread after the success of Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion. The developers wanted the game to give players more of a sense of advancement, so the bloater that was giving you grief at level 1 would feel like cutting through butter at level 20, and so on. A more linear level progression emerged. Players would first visit Velen, then Novigrad, and lastly Skellige, with each area containing progressively stronger enemies. Soon, the 2014 launch window was missed. The next few months would be spent crunching and trying to polish and fix the over 5,000 bugs that were found in the game. This would actually prove to be a blessing in disguise. As CD Projekt Red dedicated their time and energy to polishing their game, other major competitors flooded the market during the 2014 holiday season. Their new February 2015 release was canned, as the studio was worried about competing against From Software's Bloodborne, which was due to release later that month. A new release date was set for May 19th, 2015. The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt quickly became the most successful entry in the franchise. Critics raved over the immersive world, unique characters, and diverse quests. Additionally, the game sold 4 million copies in its first 2 weeks. As of March 2016, Wild Hunt has sold over 10 million copies. Witcher 3 would go on to receive numerous Game of the Year awards from various media outlets in late 2015. It is regarded as one of the single greatest video games of all time, so apparently all that work paid off. Our memories of adventuring with Geralt would not be possible without CD Projekt. Facing publisher troubles, a lack of experience in game design, and nearly approaching bankruptcy, the company remained confident, determined to finish their games while making each entry better than the last. The Witcher will last with us for years to come and influence other designers with its combat system, narrative structure, and immersive open world. As for CD Projekt Red, the future looks bright, and we really can't wait to see what they have in store for us with their next game, Cyberpunk 2077. Thanks for watching MojoPlays. Be sure to subscribe and click on the link in the description below to check out our suggestion page and vote on what content you'd like to see us cover next.